YouTubers. Oh, Heavenly Father, in my tongue, help me to push this point in the proper direction, in the proper ways. Amen. Okay. I'm going to try to just lay out a case as best as I can. I might just jot all this down sometime here soon and try to bullet point it or something. Where to begin? There's so much. There's so much to know and to think about and to try to comprehend. Have they lied to you before? I love that sentence. Right, when you talk about the government, we open up the hood of it all. Have they ever lied? Yeah, they lie constantly. You open up the hood of like the medical industry and you start looking through it. Have they ever lied? Yeah, we're pretty sure they lie quite a bit. When you open up the hood of geology and we start looking, have they ever lied? Well, they certainly misrepresented the truth. They admitted that, but they won't say it's a lie. But they'll clearly say that it's a misrepresentation of the truth. Well, plain English, that's a lie. So yeah, they've lied. When you open up biology, and this is kind of in between the two, where you're talking about like missing links and things like that. Have they lied before? Yeah, we've caught them lying before, quite a few times. And actually, the ones they still teach to this day are all openly admitted misrepresentations. Again, plain English, that's a lie. But they can't let them go or stop using them because it's all they got. Now there's 6 definitions for the term evolution. There's multiple definitions for a lot of words in the English language, but evolution actually has 6. Cosmic evolution and planetary evolution and microevolution, and there's all kinds of them. Macroevolution, basically stellar evolution. So you got like where the periodic table, all the stars and all the elements, the laws of the universe. And then you get into like man, biology, planets, and then finally you get adaptation. And that's the one that we've seen. We've seen like a bear have a white bear, and then all the bears breed with white bears so that all the bears of one part become white bears. Like we've seen that. That's just an example that's the simplest, right? That's the one that we've ever observed. All the rest are just religion. Right? And so, in an explosion, the Big Bang, there would have been hydrogen and nitrogen. All the other elements would have had to evolve from those two. Right? And then they say, well, it could have happened fast fusion in the stars, but you can't fast fuse iron. You can't fast fuse a bunch of elements on the table. So, where'd they all come from? And you could start talking about aliens or something. But where did those come from? Like, they would have had to evolve out of your Big Bang. They would have needed all the laws and the elements and the fucking everything else in order to become the aliens as well, right? So you can't just go to aliens every goddamn time. That's stupid. And, as we'll prove later, space couldn't exist. It doesn't. It can't. Impossible. It's physically impossibilium. Gravity doesn't even exist. You guys all are so fucking convinced. They keep changing the definition and how it works and shit like that in order to avoid being found out for liars. Not because they have to, not because it's there and they've recorded it in some way. No, they can't record it in any way. If they could record it in some way, then it would be there and it wouldn't be a theory, it would be evidence and we'd just be trying to prove how it works. But it's not there. They just put numbers in there. They want it to be there. They're looking for it, but it doesn't exist. It's just buoyancy. Because it isn't a ball. It's flat. We're on a foundation. Fixed. Unmovable. Earth. Sun moves inside of it. But that's way down the road. So, but aliens can't be the answer for this shit. So, and then your magic ingredient in all this evolution is millions of years. Time isn't magic. And what things do with time is they get worse. That's the second law of thermodynamics, that all things tend towards chaos. So, nothing's evolving. Nothing's getting better. Everything's getting worse. Everything's degrading. Right? Including your DNA. So, time. Over the time, things aren't getting better. They're getting worse. So you need less time, not more time. More time means you're worse than what you were. Now, unless you're biblical, you probably don't believe in old people, right? You know, you wouldn't think that, nobody lived to be 600, 700, 800, 900. Well, yes, they did. Evidence of that is found in the skeletal remains of people with a large bone above the eyebrow, because that bone grows for your entire life. So if there were to be 600, 700, 800-year-old people, then I suggest all theories or all evidence points that we should have found skeletons in the ground with big ridges over the eyebrows, like caveman. I hate doing air quotes. Caveman, boop boop, bunny. So the cavemen, that's what so we're saying, they were less evolved than us. But no, they were more evolved than us, and they lived to be a tremendous age. Right? And when they were saying, like, giants die young, and we see that today. Giants, they die young. But to them, 100 would have been young. So to us, giants would have lived for a long time. So, time is still, I know you're still stuck on time, hopefully, anyways. You're still stuck on that theory. If you're evolutionist at all, or heliocentric, you need it. Even though it works against you, you need it. So then you also need to change everything that's going on. Break the laws of the universe in order for your theory to work, because all things tend towards chaos, and you need for things to be tending towards evolution, getting better. So you're breaking the laws of thermodynamics. So right away you're throwing physics out the window. Isn't that enough? Really? Like, isn't that enough? I should be able to, like, almost stop right now and just say, "Yeah, see, told you." You know what I mean? Like, but I won't. I'm going to keep going. Time is your your biggest enemy and your needed friend. And it doesn't exist. And I've gone through this fucking hundreds of times, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to spit out a bunch of shit. It's going to come real fast, maybe. But I'll do my best. Anyway, so time is proven by the geologic time scale. Okay, so what's that? Well, the geologic time scale was made up in the 1800s arbitrarily by some dude. And he said that every layer that we find in the ground is a generation of death. And that we were built on death. Which is the opposite of the Bible. So again, let every man be a liar before God. They're saying the opposite of God. If you're a Christian, this should be enough. You should be able to shut the video off and say, okay, well, I'm a young earth evolutionist, or a young earth, flat earth fucking Christian. And just go Bible. But anyway, so he made up the layers of death and said, okay, so here's the way it laid out, Jurassic and blah, 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 whatever. And so we should find that everywhere, right? But it's only been found like 20 times in the right order ever in all of history. It's been found millions of times in the wrong order all over the world. I don't know, millions, that's a big number, but thousands. We find single trees running through multiple layers, so they'd have to be tens of thousands of years old, or those layers were all formed at the same time in a flood, which makes a lot more sense, because they're in arbitrary orders all over the world. A lot of the trees that run through multiple layers are upside down. So the geologic timescale has nothing. And then they say we'll age the rocks by what fossils we find in that layer of rocks. And then we'll age the fossils by which layer of rock they're found in. That's their circular reasoning, where you're aging one off the other. And really you didn't have anything to begin with, and you never have anything, and you still don't have anything. So then you guys always say, oh, we got carbon dating. I hate that, because you don't understand carbon dating. So carbon dating is a process where protons get too close to the sun, they get burned, they come back down as negative carbon-14. That's the only way negative carbon-14 is made, and it proves that the sun's inside our atmosphere and local, because it's colder up there, not hotter. There's less molecules, not more molecules. So it would have to be physically getting close to the sun. Do you understand that? Anyway, So they float up, they get burned, they come back down as negative carbon-14. This is a mathematical equation that we figured out, and it's congruent, so it's going to plateau. If the world were millions of years old, the number of negative carbon-14s in our atmosphere would have plateaued, thereby giving us a limiting factor of the age of the universe. It isn't a couple million years old. Actually, we can work that formula backwards and find out that it's about less than 10,000. But they won't do that. What they instead do is they go to the geologic timescale, carbon date something off of the geologic timescale. If it's the same carbon dating as your object, then they say they're the same age. So you went to nothing and started taking numbers from nothing and then just applying them to something. So you still have nothing. Right? Like there's still nothing there. You went to a fake scale and took some measurements, and then you go over here and you start applying it to carbon dating and radiometric dating or any other dating forms. You still had nothing because you went to nothing. And that's how all Earth age science works, except for drilling into a glacier, which I love that we have that real experimentation. So again, we've actually done an experiment with it where we went back 50 years and drilled something up. And we had to go through thousands of layers that they say are formed every one a year. And they say they're annual layers, but in 50 years, there were thousands of them. And somebody actually went and applied that math to the core samples that we have from our biggest glaciers. And our oldest glacier on Earth is 4,000, which lines right up with Noah's flood. Our oldest desert is 4,000, which lines right up with Noah's flood and lines up with the glaciers, right? The Grand Canyon, that's another one that you guys all want to use as evidence, right? But it has no delta. And it has rivers running into it at greater than 90-degree angles, making a turn and coming back. So that proves that it was formed quickly and recently. Because if it was millions of years, they would have eroded the corners and the rivers would all just flow in like veins, like rivers do. They wouldn't flow in and then turn. And there's no delta. The lack of a delta shows that it was cut fast and the delta was washed out to sea. So you don't have time. There isn't the millions of years. That's all just fake. Which would, technically, then I could start leading into flat Earth stuff. Because now we've shown that their theory, they don't have anything. And they're blatant liars at the top. And everybody else is just as fooled as you were. Like, your professor's not a liar, chances are. He has no fucking idea. He thinks this is all just as real as you would think and thought at one time. He's not saying, oh, I'm going to teach those kids some bad information today, No. Most of them just have no fucking clue. They'd get mad at me. They would want to argue with me. Bring it on. I would love to argue with you. Right? Anyway, so there you go. intro to my intro to young earth thought, I guess. God bless you all. Have a wonderful, I don't know what day it is, Thursday.